Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh Bashim Shai, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. May Yahweh Bashim Shai's peace be bestowed unto you, hopefully elect. Brother Yahweh call from Great Millstone, Orlando, and just assessing this new war front that's being stirred up by Yahweh Bashim Shai on the left hand using Esau. This new war front that the elites are conjuring up, is stirring up again through the hand of Yahweh Bashim Shai, dealing specifically with Babylon and Venezuela. And like I said, just assessing the situation and how this can play out in two ways. One, like it says in Jeremiah 51:14, I will fill thee as men. I will feed thee with men as caterpillars. Or two, or Slakia, because Jeremiah 51:14, which I'll probably get later, pretty much, well, why I have this video, as it says, Maduro vows a republic in arms if U.S. forces in the Caribbean attack Venezuela. So, like I said, what that can mean, what that can lead to is, as I quoted, and I'm probably going to get it, but invasions in Babylon, attacks on American soil, and things of that nature. But not only that, because with this Republican arms, they can pretty much destabilize Venezuela and cause seditions, and things of that nature. Because it can hurt Venezuela's economy. So, like I said, just assessing the situation and how it can play out in both ways. As some would say, this could be because you've got politics, and you got, some would say, politics. So, this, like I said, this could be one of those things Esau stirring up to destabilize Venezuela and to maybe justify him going in, But I'm going to read some of this article. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says, the Venezuelan president on Monday said he would constitutionally declare a republic in arms if the South American country were attacked by forces that the United States government has deployed to the Caribbean. His comments during a news conference comes as the U.S. government this week is set to boost its maritime force in the waters of Venezuela to combat threats from Latin America drug cartels. And as I always talk about Esau and his narratives, because again, as I was touching on them in the last video, that Psalm 140, Esau, he's constantly thinking about war. And also brought up the Isaiah 10, basically stealing people's resources and treasures and things of that nature. But there's always got to be a narrative. It says the U.S. has not signaled any planned land incursion by the thousands of personnel being deployed. Still, Maduro's government has responded by deploying troops along its coast and border with neighboring Colombia, as well as by urging Venezuelans to enlist in a civilian militia. So again, this would that would be a detriment to Venezuela. That could possibly cause a coup. If Maduro does in fact make this type of move. You see, it says, in the face of this maximum military pressure, we have declared maximum preparedness for the defense of Venezuela. Maduro said of the deployment, which is characterized as an extravagant, unjustifiable, immoral, and absolutely criminal and bloody threat. So I'm gonna just jump down, going into all the military equipment and personnel being moved near Venezuela, the surrounding of Venezuela, and things of that nature. I'm gonna jump down. It says Gill added that the narrative, he's all in his narratives. It's like I'm going on this walk. So I'm a little winded. It says Gill added that the narrative threatens the entire region, and an attack on Venezuela would really mean a complete destabilization of the region. Which again, how I look at it, like I said, man, on both sides of the spectrum, this could cause attacks on American soil, as well as, or maybe, an overthrowing of Maduro, the government, as we're seeing in other nations, which of course, a lot of things are being swept under the rug. One of those things being swept under the rug, all these protests going on. So it says, let us immediately demand an end to this deployment, which has no other reason than to threaten a sovereign people. He added during a virtual meeting, I'm gonna jump down, it says Maduro also used his news conference to insist that he has a legitimate winner of last year's presidential election, but ample and credible evidence has shown the contrary, prompting several countries, including the U.S., to not recognize Maduro as Venezuela's president. Maduro sworn into a third 6-year term in January added that his government maintains 2 lines of communication with the Trump administration, one with the State Department and another with Trump's envoy for special missions. I'm gonna jump down. It says since the July 2024 presidential election, Venezuela's political opposition has been urging the U.S. and other countries to pressure Maduro into leaving office. Its leader, Maria Machado, last month thanked Trump and Rubio for the deployment of the vessels, describing the move as the right approach toward Venezuela's government, which was described as a criminal enterprise. As if Esau has any room to talk shit about one's enterprise. It says Maduro on Monday, because again, as I mentioned, the fact that Esau, all he like the scripture say, basically he speaks smooth words, but in his heart is war. Why is that? Ultimately to for his NWO, his one world order, whatever you want to call it nowadays. You see, so as the scriptures say, the Lord's going to basically ran on his parade. Yahweh Shema Shah is going to cancel Esau's subscription. All right, because he does have an agenda at play. All right, his enterprise that he's trying to set up. So he has a nerve to talk about anyone else's enterprise. It says Maduro on Monday, however, warned that U.S. military action against Venezuela would stain Trump's hands with blood. President Trump, the pursuit of the regime change is exhausted. It has failed as a policy worldwide. Maduro said you cannot pretend to impose a situation in Venezuela. So, overall, the fact that if Maduro does make this type of move, and basically this will basically be a form of a draft, because that was basically telling the average civilian to, hey, get ready to fight, basically, attack. If they attack us, then hey, we attack them, basically. That's what this is going into, this Republican arms. So it'll be rather interesting to see how this plays out. But like I said, just speculating. Go ahead and go to just a few precepts. Get that Jeremiah. As it's been said over the years, dealing with this invasion, right, of these foreign nations coming over here to America, right? And it's just a matter of time before these sleeper cells, it's just a matter of time before they get that green light to do what they do. It's just a matter of time. So, this could be one of those instances. And of course, they always want to, and as brothers have been saying, because they never want to put the other nations out there. They always want to make Jake the face of terrorism and things of that nature. So, because those so-called Venezuelans, they are Israelites, they are our people. But in Jeremiah 51, and matter of fact, start at 12. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. So you see, and then America, and this is what's cool about it, because America is being surrounded on all sides from the sea. Like I mentioned, these sleeper cells that are already infiltrated Babylon, they're already here. They've been here. It didn't just start with Biden's administration. They've been here. And not only that, you got all type of planes flying over Babylon. I'm not talking about commercial planes. So America's already being surrounded. And like I said, it's just a matter of that green light, man. Some envision it being like a scene straight out of a movie. Red Dawn specifically comes to mind. Hell, going back to, what was that, 2022? Or was it 23? When going back to the whole October 7th event, right? Where you had them heathens, man, they were just partying and they just looked up, and then you had paragliders. So hey, that's not far-fetched. Like I said, that's how a lot of us envision it. But regardless, America will be ambushed. It's already being surrounded on all sides. It says, for the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. Oh, that thou dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures. Thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. So you see, man, as much as these Babylonians, these simple Babylonians, they have not the slightest clue as to what's going on, what's getting ready to happen for the most part. Because you do have a few watchful individuals out there outside of the prophets. You do have a few watchful individuals, but they can't tell you the purposes of Yahweh Shema Shai. They can't tell you they can't give you the full detail. As a matter of fact, it's cold because verse 14, the Lord of hosts has sworn by himself, saying, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. Now it's cold because, like I just said, there are some individuals out there, the Glenn Becks in them, sounded the alarm to an extent, but that's outside of the prophets, right? Because, hey, like I just said, surely I will feed thee with men as with caterpillars. Hey, that can apply to the prophets as well, right? That chanting down, that chanting, right? It says, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. You see, so hey, the prophets being the watchmen, you're standing on our watch, sounding the alarm, blowing the trumpet, raising that banner, all right, and letting you know what's coming, right? And this is a part of that banner being lifted, that ensign, the trumpet being blown. Is that on the flip side of that? Hey, like it says again, surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. So on the flip side, hey, America is about to be invaded. All right, as I said, America is already being enclosed, surrounded. All right, from the sea, from the air, from within. America is already compromised. So grab this, Zephaniah 2:15, which, if I'm not mistaken, well, I'll just read it. Zephaniah 2:15. Is this the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly, that said in her heart, I am, and there is none else beside me? How will she become a desolation? A place for beasts to lie down, and everyone that passes by her shall hiss and wag his hand. So how is that? Well, hey. So yeah, Salaki, because verse 13, I'm going to read real quick. It says, and he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation and a dry like a wilderness. So yeah, I just wanted to qualify, because this can be referred to America. All right, I just wanted to see where this was talking about originally, but like I said, this can be compared to Babylon, of course, which I always say the virgin daughter of Babylon, as America is known by. But as I always say, this virgin is about to get her virginity popped. So that's that. All right. I'm gonna go to this, because on the other side, you know, Esau, this could lead to, like I said, a civil unrest over there in Venezuela, an overthrow, a coup. So, like I quoted, hey, this could be another one of Esau's politics. So, Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14. Bear with me. Oh, Isaiah 14 and 17. Going into Esau and how he's coming. The Lord's taking him out of his power structure. Isaiah 14. Because not only that, like the scriptures say, he's spoiled, but now he's about to become a spoil. You see, so he's dealt treacherously, so he's about to be dealt treacherously. But we're still in the part where, hey, he's dealing treacherously. He's spoiling. You know, he's still. It's an old playbook by Esau. He paints his narrative, right? Sends in his economic hitman or whatever the case may be. However he does it, and then he comes in and takes over. You know, so again, Esau, his politics. And this is why we see these nations, they're in shambles. These once wealthy countries, but now they're third world countries. And that's because, hey, Esau's came in, infiltrated. You know, these nations, they drunk the wine. And that's why the nations are mad. And this is what Esau does. As it says here, Isaiah 14 and 17. That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof. That opened not the house of his prisoners. So the point being, Esau, he's made the world a wilderness. All right, here it is. The Lord created the world to be inhabited. He created it to be enjoyed. But under the rudiments of Esau, the earth has become accursed. The earth is cursed. And it's getting to a point that the earth is fighting back against this devil. Because the earth is a living, breathing thing. You know, the earth is alive, but she's just sick as of right now because of Esau. It's made the whole world a wilderness. So this is why he's got to get taken out of here. And that's what this chapter is going into. As it says in the earlier verses, even the fir trees, when Esau's taken out of power, even the fir trees are going to rejoice. You see? And it's going back to how Yahweh Shah set it up. Esau, he talk about a God-fearing nation, but they don't respect the land Sabbath. They don't keep the land Sabbath. They don't give the land the land any time to rest. That's why everything is corrupt. Everything is polluted. Everything is defiled. Everything is cursed because of Esau. So the Lord has to take him out of power, man. The Lord has to take him out of power. So, like I said, man, this is an old playbook. And, you know, it's just rather to see. Interesting to see how this plays out. Of course, we just have to continue to sit back and wait. But in no time, however this plays out, hell, it might be both. You know, hey, whatever the case may be. You know, but Lord, one of us was edifying. All praise to you, Yahweh Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully elect.